Thank you, Louise. I'd like now to introduce Michael Nolan and welcome him down to Sligo. He traveled down from Belfast today. Michael's work has been published in The Stinging Fly, Winter Papers, and The Lifeboat, and broadcast on BBC4. He's completing a PhD at Queen's University and is one of the founding editors of the Tangerine. Michael's prose sings with energy and verve. He has a profound sense of place, captured in both dialogue and the spaces mapped in his stories. His editorial work on the Tangerine has provided an important platform for writers and has earned an international reputation. In a 2016 Irish Times article, Michael writes both about the vision for the journal and Belfast. I quote, "To some, it might seem counterintuitive to start a print magazine in 2016. The digital revolution has profoundly changed the way many of us interact with new writing. But we're still believers in the power of the printed word, in writing and reading that takes time. It's a rite of passage for a writer to see her work in print." And about Belfast, he writes, "Belfast today is trying to find its footing again, but it feels buoyed by a sense of possibility and has benefited immensely from the influence of multiculturalism. All this isn't to say that the path to peace runs smooth, tensions linger, outbreaks of violence recur, political gridlock stymies progress. With the Tangerine, we want to open up a space for news stories, to offer a platform to people who've been left out of the conversation about where we are and where we're going. Michael's currently working on his novel, and we're privileged to have him here today to tell one of his stories.
I was going to clap for myself there. I was like, yeah, very good. Thank you, Una. That was really lovely. And thank you, Louise, for reading really brilliant prose. The piece I'm going to read is, it's tricky actually because it's one, untitled, and two, from a book that's unfinished. So, but this, I guess, is probably going to be the opening chapter. I say probably because who the hell knows what happens next. It's basically, I mean, I don't really need to supply much context other than to say that it's about a young man who has made a mistake and has had to do community service. And this is the start. Okay. 3 weeks of sun and overcast skies, and not a drop of rain until my first shift at Milltown Cemetery. In the early hours, while lying in bed with my phone in my face, scrolling through articles I wouldn't remember reading, I heard it tapping against the window. All my gear was laid out, the high-vis bib and weatherproofs my probation officer had given me the day before, my steel toe-cap boots, which I put on over a pair of thick black socks. I splashed my face with cold water and tried to put contact lenses in, but no matter how much I fiddled around with them, they wouldn't set. I ended up walking up the road at 7:30 in the morning wearing glasses I couldn't wipe on weatherproofs that weren't the right material. I pulled my hood up over my face and kept my eyes on my feet as I stepped over puddles, trembling as they did in the rain. Old, ancient-looking crosses emerged through the haze. I had the feeling that I was being watched as I ducked around the back of the building at the front of the cemetery and into the yard where 3 green transport containers made a broken square. One of the transport containers had been converted into a hut, and the door was open, but it was dark inside. I could just about make out the shape of a man sitting on a bench with his back against the wall. "Is Jim here?" I said. No response. The door of the portaloo swung open. A tall, skinny man with a head like a pinball stepped out. "Sean McGee," he said. "That's me." He was in his 60s, I reckoned, and was wearing glasses that were soaked from the rain, yet he seemed to be able to see me clear as day. "Where's your high vis?" he said.